Tampa Bay Buccaneers beat the Kansas City Chiefs in the 2021 Super Bowl. And while many of us, including myself, expected the Chiefs to win, the Buccaneers are the ones holding up the Lombardi Trophy. But if anyone told you a year ago that this would happen, we would all think you're nuts. So hi guys, I'm Jake, and this is how the Buccaneers won the Super Bowl in 2021. And thank you for this really good video idea. I had a lot of fun making this, and I hope you guys enjoy it. And just so you guys know, unless I get flooded with comments, every single suggestion that you guys make will be a video at some point. And I'll reply to you letting you know when that video should be coming out. But anyway, this is probably the only time you'll see my face this whole entire video, so sit back, relax, and enjoy the video. So before Tom Brady would win his 7th Super Bowl, let's go all the way back to the 2020 offseason. So the Chiefs won their first Super Bowl in decades, there was no pandemic, and life was pretty good. The Buccaneers went just 7-9, and they were letting go of their quarterback, Jameis Winston, who they drafted first overall in 2015. Winston was mostly famous in 2019 for throwing an impressive 33 touchdowns to 30 interceptions and over 5,000 passing yards. And if you look at the players returning, it's safe to say the Bucs were a consistently elite quarterback away from a playoff team. They had Mike Evans, who had at least 1,000 receiving yards every season since he was drafted in 2014. And they couldn't have had a better number 2 receiver in Chris Godwin, who just came off a breakout year in 2019 with over 1,300 yards and 9 touchdowns. They also had a pretty stable offensive line with Donovan Smith and Ali Marpet leading the way. On defense, they had a veteran yet productive defensive line with Jason Pierre-Paul and Ndamukong Suh. Their linebacker core was really good too, and they had a very consistent Levante David, their former 5th overall pick the year before in Devin White, and they franchise tagged Shaq Barrett, who had a breakout year with 19.5 sacks the year before. This team obviously had the talent to really compete, but they couldn't risk drafting a quarterback in the first round with their pick and their situation. So this takes us to free agency. So now the Buccaneers are in search for a quarterback for the first time since they drafted Jameis Winston, and they made out. They were able to bring Tom Brady to Tampa, who was really sold due to the warm weather, talented roster, and a partial say in football operations. And this didn't make him anywhere near the general manager or anything, but he had at least some of the say because of the talent and the impact he could make. And this move helped convince Rob Gronkowski to come out of retirement, where he was then traded from the Patriots for a 4th round pick. And many people question this move because they had 2 talented tight ends in O.J. Howard and Cameron Brate. But it makes sense for Brady to have some familiarity on a new team. And even with these aggressive moves, the Buccaneers weren't done. While Ronald Jones gave the Buccaneers a solid running back, they needed a second guy just in case Jones couldn't build off his 2019 season. So this brings us to the Jaguars, and they were in full rebuild mode. They were left in shambles after Tom Coughlin poorly managed the talent that they just had a couple years ago. They moved every player that played on their 2017 AFC Championship team except for Leonard Fournette. After no one was willing to trade for Fournette, the Jaguars decided to release him, despite him having arguably his most productive season in 2019. So the Buccaneers decided to swoop in and pick up the former early 1st round pick. They also picked up LaShawn McCoy to have a veteran in the backfield, and Ryan Succop, who was a steady and reliable kicker. The Buccaneers would do really well in the draft as they picked Tristan Wirfs in the 1st round and Antoine Winfield Jr. in the 2nd. And don't forget a really underrated pick in the 5th round with Tyler Johnson. This team was extremely hyped up, but they did have many haters as well. And it was really easy to fall into this category because Tom Brady had a disappointing end to his Patriots career, where he left off losing to a 5-11 Dolphins team late in the season, and he lost to the Titans in the wildcard game. And a lot of one offseason quote-unquote super teams have failed. Look at the Eagles' dream team in 2011 and the Browns in 2019. Both teams were Super Bowl contenders on paper that couldn't even finish over 500. And the Buccaneers wouldn't even have a preseason, so nothing was certain. And going into week 14, those doubters looked to be right for the most part. After 2 straight losses to the Rams and the Chiefs, the Bucs were just 7-5. While this is still pretty good, this wasn't good enough for many people's standards. But also, remember who the Bucs have at quarterback. They have Tom Brady. Brady was a 6th round pick in the year 2000 and has the most unlikely path to greatness in NFL history. Tom Brady never gave up and wasn't going to give up now. The Bucs would win out, and while the best team they played in that stretch only won 6 games, 4 wins in a row in the NFL are 4 wins in a row in the NFL. This gave the Buccaneers an 11-5 record and the 5th seed in the playoffs. Their first game came on the road against the 7-9 Washington football team. And the Buccaneers would only win by 8 despite playing against a former backup XFL quarterback due to an Alex Smith injury. And I am not dissing Taylor Heinicke, he played really well that game, but given the circumstance, this should have been a major margin victory for the Bucs. Anyway, they would play another road game against the Saints, have a lot to play for because this was Drew Brees' last season. But the Buccaneers would come in and win by 10, a really impressive win. They then had to play a third road game in a row, this time against the Packers. And this was against an MVP Aaron Rodgers with so much determination due to the Packers drafting Jordan Love. And I think he played so much better this year just because of how mad he was with that pick. Anyway, the Buccaneers will win a really close game against the Packers as they won by 5. And with all of these road games in the playoffs, the Bucs would play in Tampa Bay, the first home Super Bowl ever. But they weren't going to face an easy team. They were facing the Chiefs, the Super Bowl winner the year before, with possibly even more talent now. And the Bucs wouldn't only win, but they would dominate the Chiefs 31-9. The Bucs outplayed the Chiefs both offensively and defensively, and they had no problems winning. And let's just look back and realize how unlikely this is. The Buccaneers haven't won a Super Bowl since the 2002-2003 season and haven't made the playoffs since 2007. They brought in a new quarterback in a new season with a new playbook, and they didn't even have a preseason. And when they made the playoffs, they beat 3 talented teams on the road. And yes, the Washington football team was extremely talented for a 7-9 team. But anyway, they beat those 3 teams on the road. And in the Super Bowl, they destroyed the team that was favored to win the Super Bowl since, well, they won the Super Bowl last year. Now let's look at how well all the new additions played in the Super Bowl. Rob Gronkowski caught 2 touchdowns and had over 60 yards in the air. Leonard Fournette had over 100 total yards and a touchdown. Ryan Suckup wouldn't miss a kick, and LaShawn McCoy won his 2nd Super Bowl in 2 seasons. And Tom Brady, well, was the quarterback who won the Super Bowl, so that really speaks for itself. But anyway, this proves that anything can happen in the NFL, and no one can ever doubt Tom Brady, no matter how bad people think it can get. Because remember, people thought Tom Brady could be done after the 2014 season, and he ended up winning 4 more Super Bowls after that and made it to 5. And while super teams in the offseason are really tough to predict, remember who the quarterback is for the Buccaneers, because with all the talent on this team, this wouldn't be possible without the greatest of all time himself. Alright guys, thank you guys for watching. This is the end of the video, so you can click off if you want to, but I'm just going to say a few things real quick. So coming up on Sunday, I'm going to make my first mock draft, and I would like to make this mock draft this month. I'd like to make one in March, and one pretty much right before the draft in April. I had a lot of fun making this video, and if you guys like it, I'm definitely willing to make this a series. But I appreciate you guys' continued support and comments on every single video, because I definitely notice you guys, and it's really awesome. So I'll see you guys later. You guys are the 35 best people on YouTube, and I'll see you guys in 2 more days.